Kenyan President William Ruto has announced the dismissal of almost his entire cabinet and plans to form a broad-based government following widespread anti-government protests. Ruto said his decision would apply to all ministers, except Foreign Minister Musalia Mudavadi. He plans to engage in extensive consultations across different sectors, political formations, and the public to set up the new government. The East African nation was left reeling after peaceful rallies last month to protest planned steep tax increases turned into deadly violence, with police firing at crowds who stormed the parliament. Led largely by young people, the protests have plunged Ruto's administration into its most serious crisis, forcing him to abandon the tax hikes. Ruto was elected 2 years ago on a promise to emancipate Kenya's working poor, but economic conditions have since worsened, leading to growing criticism of the government. The protests, which started in June over the tax hike, have widened into a broader campaign against Ruto and his government, with some demonstrations turning violent and leaving dozens dead. Last week, Ruto announced spending cuts and scrapped the annual finance bill, including the tax hikes, but this has failed to appease some demonstrators who continue to call for him to step down. Kenya's public debt amounts to 10 trillion shillings, around 70% of its gross domestic product, and the government's decision to borrow more will result in the fiscal deficit rising from 3.3% to 4.6%.